Hi, everybody. Welcome to Stratosphere Lounge. I'm your host, Bill Whittle, who has gone to the incredible effort and not to mention expense of remapping the keys so that when I type, I don't actually hit spacebar and lose the audio. It's the cops. Cheese it. Nobody says cheese it anymore. I don't remember when people said cheese it, but I just think that's kind of cool. So anyway, yeah, things are going well here. I have something I'm just so excited about previewing. Tempting to just jump right into it. Maybe I will. Good to see you guys too. Good to see everybody. Um, your humble narrator has been really busy. I know it usually is the excuse I'm trotting out, but this time I got some evidence. Um, Trevor from Florida. The call's coming from inside the house. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's just great. Anyway, I got permission from my insect overlords to be able to leak one photo of something I've been working on for the last, gosh, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks now, I guess. I'm not terribly in love with the picture in terms of being flattering to me. However, it's just wicked cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to be taking questions from BillWhittle.com. We got a live stream over on BillWhittle.com. It's going to be a fun night. Um, and I'm going to be going over there to check the comments too. But right now I'm just watching the the comments live on Twitch. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting evening. Okay. Apparently, somebody is bashing down a concrete wall on the other side of my drywall here. Anyway, I've been working on something for quite a while. I've got another week's worth of work to do, and then it'll be held for a little while in the hands of very capable people, and then it will be released into the wild. So I'm going to show you that one picture that's been cleared for release. I'm not really going to say much about it, but if since I'm watching the comments right at the moment in Twitch as we do this live, I'm curious to know how long it will take people to guess what it is, and I suspect the limit will be about the limit of the ping. In other words, about 2 or 3 seconds out and back. Ready? Okay, hang on a second. Where'd it go? Here it goes. Tell me what you think. What is that all about? Hey, ho, ho. Um, it's great. Yeah, that's right. Xnor's. Oh my God. Xnor's first. Yep. All of them coming in, and a bunch of people. Um, it is freaking cool. It is special on Apollo 11. It's going to be 4 hours special, or 4 segments special anyway. Pretty near 4 hours. And that's really about all I can say about the actual show, other than to say I walked into this set and it just it just blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. There's nothing like a practical set, and this is just the coolest set I've ever been on. Certainly, I am not Walter Cronkite, fortunately. But but yes, you guys got it right. It's about Apollo 11 and John Pershing for the win. Like I said, I told him I wouldn't tell anything about this, but I can't. Uh, I'm not going to really deny somebody when somebody gets it right because there's something else I did kind of want to talk to you about. It's John Pershing said doing Apollo 11 in real time. I don't know if it'd be fun to do it in real time. Maybe it's a really good idea. This is going to be released well before 20th of July, the 50th anniversary. Needless to say, as they do this kind of platform rollout where they reveal more and more, we'll be putting that all up on Facebook and all that material on the website. So I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to be like too teasy, but I just really asked if I could get something to show because it has affected our schedule for this week and maybe last week as well. But yeah, it's tremendously cool. I wrote 4 1-hour segments. And yeah, somebody's pointing out some of these other things. Series from PDI to Touchdown. Martin Archer pointed that out. I used a lot of references, but the nice thing about this is, given the amount of time that we've got, 4 hours. I don't know that you could do 4. I don't know if I could do 4 hours on Apollo 11, but I can do 4 hours on the space program, and that's basically what we're doing. I just have to be a little bit careful here. I just want to think, but I know what I want to say. I just got to be careful. The set is so good. You're very kind. John Pershing says I could do 4 hours on the LEM landing struts. Yeah, probably could actually. So obviously we're gonna deal with Apollo 11, but we get to keep cutting back from what's happening on Apollo 11, and we basically look at the whole space program. And the first thing we do after the Apollo 11 landing hook is that's a good idea, Kulak. That is a fantastic idea. I'm glad I thought of it. Hang on a second. Wow. Not often I actually stop to write things down, but that's bloody brilliant. Never occurred to me. Okay, so basically, we get to talk about the space program, and I get to say things like, you can't understand the moon landing if you don't understand how cap guns work. And so we get into the whole pop culture and all of that stuff. The reason I brought up cap guns was I really have to set the scene, I really got 4 hours to take people back into the space age. And cap guns, the reason you can't understand the moon landing if you don't know what cap guns were like is because cap guns represented an elegant and interesting solution to the problem, the practical problem. And the practical problem with a cap gun is I want to play cowboys and Indians, and I've got my trusty, chrome Colt revolver, and when I pointed it at a guy, I wanted to go bang. That's an engineering problem, and it's not a question of me taking it into Unreal and adding particle effects and doing a nice 3D rendering of the thing and texturing the handle and all that other stuff. It's got to work out in the real world, and that means it's got to be solved. And that may not seem like a close comparison, but I think it's a really, I'm very happy with it. I think it perfectly captures the age. I think the age of the space age. I think it captures all of it. I mentioned a little bit about Johnny Astro, which I've talked about before on this show. But when I'm talking about the pop culture, I get to say something along the lines of, Johnny Astro is this toy from the 60s that I just loved, maybe my favorite toy ever. and basically you have a handle, and it connects to a fan. The fan looks like a radar dish. There's a little landing pad. You put a regular balloon on it, just a regular old party balloon, except this says United States on the side. And it's not filled with helium, it's just a balloon. It's got a little landing gear thing that you tape on the bottom, and it just sits there. And then if you increase the power on the fan by running the really cool throttle up, then and you do this correctly. If you put in too much juice, you just blow the balloon off the pad. You don't put in enough, nothing happens. And you got to aim at the right place too, because you have to aim it over the top of the balloon. But if you do that correctly, you will take advantage of an aerodynamic phenomenon called the Coanda effect. And I knew the name of the Coanda effect, and it's going to be in color, but somebody asked if it's going to be in black and white. It's going to be in color. My eyes are not. Oh yes, AOC. Anyway, you get it. I should have a cigar. I should tempted to be smoking a cigarette just because it looks so wicked. But here's a point I tried to make here, because I really do think this is germane, and I also want to talk about this a little bit to warm up before we get the show rolling here. Okay, so, and I mentioned this in the show, which I'm very, very, very excited about. Hang on, I gotta. I have to open a separate window and all the rest of this garbage. It's just terrible. It must be nice. Hang on a second. Yeah, because one thing that was nice about the work I was doing was I, had actual team of highly trained professionals around me who cared about the outcome and left me frightened and confused. Try this one more time. I don't know if this is the exact. No, it's not either. I just want to kind of get it right. I forgot. I'm trying to find where the. This might be it. Anyway, sorry about the delay. It's not what I'm looking for, and I'm tired of looking for it. The nice thing about it is I get to read the definition of the Coanda effect, and basically, it's a paragraph of reasonably advanced aerodynamics and physics. The Coanda effect is the result of a stream wanting to remain attached to the surface of a convex blah 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 blah. It's just a paragraph of the Coanda effect, and my conclusion from this was that in the space age, the guys who weren't smart enough to work on the Apollo program were making toys that used advanced aerodynamic techniques and very, very finely machined and linked mechanical devices in order to fly balloons around a room, and that's the kind of time it was. I never really liked. This is really kind of what I wanted to talk about, because sometimes this show's just therapy more than anything else. The set is absolutely magnificent. It's incredible. Parts of it are older than they should be, but I sat down in that chair, I'll just show it to you one more time. Sat down in that chair and I said to myself, look, it's Captain Analog. And all of that's true. So here's the thing I've been kind of wrestling with. It is a little disturbing that all of this is kind of, nostalgia. And yet that's kind of what it is. And I have been happy about, and also a little conflicted about. I can't tell you about that right now, Exnora, where it's coming from, but believe me, you will hear about it. yeah, there's a lot in there that's a little older than it needs to be, but it just looks so great. Uh, what am I trying to say? Okay, so here's what I'm trying to say. As I wrote this stuff, it's 4 hours. It's a small book, actually. It's like 33,000 words, something like that. Um, I began to realize that the space age is not really, it's not really a generational cohort. I mean, technically speaking, um, the space age was pretty much pulled off by the silent generation. The reason you never heard of them is because there's a silent generation. But after the greatest generation and before the baby boom, the guys that grew up in the 50s and then into the 60s were the guys that actually did the moon landing. I was 10 when they landed on the moon. I was the tail end of the baby boom, so I was too late for that. But I wasn't too late for the space age. I grew up in the space age. And everything I do and everything I say, and in fact, all the things that I uh, just interested in, firewall, eject, afterburner, Stratosphere Lounge, all of this stuff is all is all connected to the space age. And I always thought it was connected to aviation, but I never really fully realized, no, it's the space age. And the space age is a golden time, was a golden time. And it's possible, if this does well, that we might be able to do some more work in there. And I just kind of realized, you know, it would be great if somebody could be kind of a spokesman for the space age, because it was a really remarkable time, and and I've been feeling really pretty sad about it lately. Obviously, things kind of going downhill from where I stood. If you were watching every single 2 months, there was a Saturn V lifting off every 2 or 3 months, going further and further and further. So it's getting a little depressing out there for me. But the thing that I was most struck about, really, really struck about, was I was looking back on it, and I had this thought. It was like, oh, it was a great time to grow up. It was a pretty dream and an illusion, but just not realistic. And then I almost like psychologically, I just slapped myself in the face. It's like it wasn't a dream. We didn't paint pictures about going to the moon, and we didn't do plays about going to the moon. We went to the frickin' moon, and and what um, and what that made me realize is that world is not a fantasy world. It's not a world. It's not a science fiction world. It's what people can do when they're at their best. Um, and and it has been so bloody disappointing this last half century. But then I realized, who's actually speaking for that time. A lot of what I do is based on the fact that I grew up during that time. But who's actually really just speaking, for the space age?